Good morning and welcome. Glad you're here. We're going to be continuing a conversation that we began last week with a couple whose organization is making a huge impact at home and internationally as well. And you're going to hear more about the level of that impact. So put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Well, welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. I'm Steve Glavin, and this is the show where we come together around our virtual coffee table each week and join the conversation to chat about interesting topics with amazing guests. And if you are joining us for the first time today, welcome. If you've been with us in the past, welcome back. And if you are joining live, this is Saturday, October 26th, 2024. If you're tuning in later, it's whatever date and time you are joining us. But in either case, you're welcome to be part of the conversation. And we do encourage you to do that. Say hi in the chat to let us know that you're here. When we get into our conversation with our guests, make sure that you are part of that conversation as well. I see Carla is here. Good morning, Carla. Nice shirt. Yeah. Well, we're talking to a couple who have an organization that's based around soccer, and so I'm wearing a soccer jersey today. So here you go, right? And Shalane is here. Hi, friends. Yes, I did not see him take a. Sorry. And good morning, Jerry. And yes, thank you for the compliments and the notice of the shirt. I'm trying to fit the theme to some degree. By the way, you'll notice I am not in the office. I am set up in the dining room this week. We're having some work done downstairs, and it's just my desk area is a little bit inconvenient. So we're in the dining room. You see the cabinet behind me and the fall decor that Carol has. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's fall decor back there as there is in other parts of the house. But anyway, and thank you, Shalane, for the everybody drink. Yes, it's good to see everybody here, and I do hope you're having a good week and a great weekend so far. Weather here in Spokane right now is pretty mild. This is actually supposed to be the nicest day of the week. We're going to be getting rain the rest of the week, including looks potentially like we're going to get some rain on Halloween. In the couple of years that we have lived here, the first year that we were here, we were home for Halloween and we did have some candy. And I think toward the end of the evening, we had one, maybe two groups of a little bit older kids who stopped by and rang the doorbell. Last year, we were actually in Rhode Island Thanksgiving week, and we participated in some things there. We did a walking ghost tour. You know, they have these different cities will have these ghost tours, which basically are they take you around and tell you places about places in their city that are supposedly haunted and where maybe there have been stories in the past about crimes that were committed or different things, and it's all supposed to just be kind of the spooky element. We did that once when we were in Boston. I don't think that was for Halloween, but we just did it in Boston because it was one of the tourist things we could do. But we did that in Providence, Rhode Island last year. So we weren't even home for Halloween. We are going to be home this year, and we'll probably we'll have the neighborhood we live in, which is sort of it's not a pass through neighborhood. You have to literally come in here, and it's a combination of condominiums and individual houses, but it doesn't pass through to other neighborhoods. It's like you're coming in here specifically because you want to be in this neighborhood. And so we don't and there are a lot of older couples who live here. There aren't a lot of families with kids, so I don't know again what to expect for this Halloween. So what is it like in your neighborhood? Do you still find that trick or treating is something that happens in your neighborhood? We know that a few years back during COVID, it curtailed entirely for a year or two. Um, what is it now that happens where you live? Has it ever been something that you've had as part of your normal practice? And what do you do around Halloween? Do you decorate your yard? Do you decorate your house? Do you dress up? And do you go to any parties? what is typically your tradition around it? I know some people avoid Halloween altogether, but I also know that there are like church groups and community centers that will sponsor events. Lots of times they just call them harvest festivals, or a lot of them will set up at some point during the week, sometimes on Halloween day or night itself, what they call trunk or treat, where they have volunteers come and line up cars with the trunks or the backs open, where they have goodies to hand out to the kids, and the kids can still come in costumes of some sort, and it makes it a little bit safe. That's the other thing, is it used to be the kids just went out and trick-or-treated, and now particularly with kids that are relatively young, they're going out with their parents, they're going out with an adult, just because times have changed, unfortunately, and we just don't have the same, I don't think we have the same sense of safety, or the kids that do go out, even older kids tend to go in groups. You're not just going to go out alone. So different than it was in my day growing up. But anyway, hey, listen, I want to get to our topic today. So what I want to do right now is just share a little bit of our, as Shalane will say, charcuterie. Hi, Carla. No kids decor in the yard. Okay. And thank you about the lighting. It is, it's always nice when I'm down in my office setup, my media setup downstairs. It's a great setup for doing this, except just because it's in the basement, there isn't any natural light in the setup that I have. So I'm doing it all with artificial lighting, which is not as complimentary to the look and feel and complexion and everything else. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about our sweet and savory. And I have a special story that I want to share. This one just came to my attention this last week. But we usually don't take the time with, sometimes we'll mention if a celebrity passes away, we'll mention the celebrity. In this case, I wanted to share just a little bit about this woman named Julia Hawkins, who passed away this last week. And her story has been shared on national news and local news. And this particular little segment that I'm going to show you now is from WBRZ station, TV station, news station in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And just watch.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. First tonight, Baton Rouge's favorite senior sprinter, Miss Julia Hurricane Hawkins, died peacefully in her home last night. She was 108 years old. We first told you about Hurricane Hawkins in 2018 when she became the oldest woman to compete in the National Senior Games. The Ponchatoula native went on to break multiple world records and was honored by the state for her accomplishments on the track. News 2's Alexis Mary looks back at her life and her legacy.
Sylvia, Julia Hurricane Hawkins, the speedy 108-year-old, was busy right till the end. Her daughter, Juji Battle, tells WBRZ when she got ready to go, she just went.
Whether she was breaking track records or tending to her garden.
Welcome to my garden.
108-year-old Ponchatoula native Julia Hurricane Hawkins
Good job.
had plenty of life advice.
So you need to save your races for when you need them.
Hawkins' daughter Juji Battle says she passed away peacefully Tuesday night at St. James Place after a long and happy life.
See lots of sunrises, sunsets, rainbows, beautiful birds, beautiful music, things that people say to you that make you feel good, all those wonderful magic moments.
The races started when Hawkins was 100 years old. She was inspired by her son to run the 100-yard dash for her 100th birthday. She became a world record holder for her age group after finishing in just under 40 seconds.
I call her a little old lady in tennis shoes.
Earning her the nickname Hurricane.
I like the flower lady better.
As an LSU alumna, Hawkins was the first person to create a 105-plus age group track record.
I've been here longer than I thought I'd be already.
She won 2 gold medals in the next 3 National Senior Olympics, leaving a lasting impact on Louisiana sports.
I'm inspiring them to be healthy and to realize you can still be doing it at this kind of an age.
And Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome released a statement earlier today saying, in part, her spirit and determination to stay active and engage with life touched so many. Sylvia?
So, what a life and what a legacy. We raise a cup and salute Julia Hurricane Hawkins. And just thought that was a special story, just for so many, inspirational for so many reasons. And I do have one birthday this week that I want to acknowledge. Some of you may recall several months ago we had an author on by the name of Sid Niemeyer who wrote a book called Atomic Peril, his first novel. And Sid is celebrating a birthday tomorrow. So we want to reach out and wish Sid a happy birthday as well. Do you have a special day this week that I did not have on my calendar that you would like to make sure that we celebrate and acknowledge with you? You can put it in the chat right now, and we'll be glad to acknowledge you. If you have one coming up, maybe sometime the remainder of this year, November or December, and you would like us to put it on our calendar so that we can celebrate with you when the time comes, you can reach out to us at our email at cbwsteve@comcast.net, and we'll make sure that we get that ready for you and celebrate with you. That's what we like to do, right? Well, listen, I want to get to our conversation today. And if you were with us last week, you will have heard and seen part one of our conversation with Walter Pratte. And my mind just went completely blank for a minute. You will remember our conversation with Walter Pratte and Pamela Jacobsen. I don't know why Pamela's name just completely went out of my mind. I wanted to say Julia Hurricane Hawkins, and she's not part of that conversation. We've already talked about her. Anyway, we met Walter and Pamela last week and heard about their organization, Girls Soccer Worldwide. And so I want to get to the remainder of that conversation. So we start with a little recap from last week and then our continued conversation with Walter and Pamela.
We got on a plane in 2016 just to the simplicity of creating an equal playing field for girls who didn't have access, because it's a machismo sport. If in many places around the world, especially in the Latin community, is machismo.
Because back home, we don't have anything. We're just dying for opportunities. And the kids that I see over here, I mean, like, they have everything. But over there, we have a different type of poverty, which is the essential things that we're looking for example, material or economics or food. Over here, we have a different type of poverty. We have everything, but we don't have sometimes the purpose in life. And that's how it started. We just share with some families. I said to Pam, we need to do this. And she's like, you're crazy. Why do you want to go to South America with kids? You know how dangerous it is? I said, I know. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're gonna make it work. And 9 families decide they call me and say, we want to talk about your dream. And because the kids are talking about it. So I invite Pam to come over, and she thought I was crazy, but she came anyway. And she was gonna document everything, and we made the trip. And I know where I was going. I don't know how I was gonna do it, but I know where I was going.
We're told that girls didn't want to play. Obviously, we knew that was not the truth. Walter knew that was just a perceived belief that they've been conditioned to believe, right? And we always say that girls are girls regardless of where they're born. The only difference is where they're born and the socioeconomic status that they're born into. So we knew girls wanted to play, especially if they're growing up in a culture that they eat, breathe, sleep soccer. Why wouldn't they want to play? And I stood in that room with these 9 families, and I knew wholeheartedly I was exactly where I needed to be. I got on that plane, I documented it, we had no other plans to be a part of this work, this mission. And what I saw personally, and I say I because Walter was already exposed to all this. He grew up in poverty. He knew he didn't have the cultural shock that we all had getting on that plane. And what I was exposed to, what I was introduced to, shook me at the core. When these girls turn 14, 15 years old, it's not uncommon for them to be pulled out of school. Because if you're a family faced with extreme poverty and you have a choice to put food on your table or keep your child, a lot of times your daughter, in school, you're going to choose food because you're in survival mode. It's all about what you need to do to meet the essential needs of your family at that given time. And so education is being lost, and the dreams of these girls are going, to the wayside because of it. And we realize there's a stronger connection where we need to make sure that sports and education are aligned, because the soccer field only does one thing, but if these girls aren't kept in school, their future, that possibility of having a stronger future and ever getting out of poverty is never going to happen. So we started a scholarship program, and our mission was to keep these girls in school. So not only were we focusing on soccer, but now we were introducing this concept of, you know, we're going to take the financial burden off of your family, so your family has no reason or excuse to take you out of school, and we're going to see you for the long haul. And that is where our mission statement started to evolve into something bigger, which is to empower girls to rise up out of poverty through sports education and leadership opportunities. And there's layered effects that have grown on top of that, which we will dive into, but yeah.
You mentioned the 9 families, and you talked about the nine girls on that first trip, and there's some relevance to how your coaching here domestically in the local region has evolved in conjunction with your work in Paraguay. And I think it would be important to share a little bit about the involvement of the girls you have coached and worked with here, and how you mentioned it's changed the trajectory of their lives as well. How has some of that shown itself? What has been the impact of that?
I think one of the things that we wanted to do is continue introducing the game and giving opportunity for young girls to be part of the game. One of the biggest problems that we have in the US is the pay-to-play system, where if you don't have the money, you cannot participate or you don't participate in those schools and the programs, because to be able to have a group of people to come together and play, have a coach always has an expenses on attached. And you don't have the money to do it, you're not playing, right? And then you're in disadvantage of that. So we created a grassroots program, and we work in a middle school called Junction here in Livermore, where our kids grew up going to school from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. Have a great education there. Now they're in high school, but we knew that the need was there too, because is a Title I school. Title I school means that majority of the kids that go to that school, they get lunch from the government, and you know that that's the case. The kids are in poverty. So we started the program there, but to be able to do that, we had to create another program that Pam is passionate about it. I don't know, Pam, you want to talk about the leadership program?
Yeah, so after, I would say maybe 3 years, we always do this parent celebration after the trip. You know, it gives the parents an opportunity to at least have some part of the experience to understand to some capacity. They'll never understand to the full capacity what these girls experience, but just to bring them along the journey in some way. And we were asked a question that changed what we were doing here. And it was asked, like, how are you taking these leadership skills and taking them and applying them back in your own community and your school hallways? And all the girls went silent. They didn't know how to articulate that. They didn't know how to, you know, embrace the idea that their lives are changing and they are being an inspiration to those around them. But because we weren't continuing the conversation from the trip, there was a block in that. We always talked about them being leaders, but we weren't going down to exploring the actual essence of what leadership truly is, right? So during COVID, the Ambassador for Change leadership program was born, and we met in a parking lot, spread out our chairs because that's what we were asked to do, and we dove into conversation during a time that when these girls needed it even more. I mean, set aside the idea of leadership and what this trip experience was doing for them, but now we're facing something on a whole different level where we're segregated from each other. And as human beings, I'm a firm believer we are not meant to do life alone. We are meant to embrace and engage and build relationships and engage in conversation, touch each other. And that's what was missing. And so we had girls, again, signed up for this opportunity that has grown into something that I never believed would have happened. But we started diving into the idea of the art of self-leadership. Who are you as a leader? Who are you as a person? Like, identify who you are, know your self-worth and value, so that you can actually go out and be that right spark to the flame to those around you. And it has grown into something not only do we have a year one program, but we have a continued experience. So as you build on discovering who you are as a person, as a leader, we then dive into a year two experience, and then we dive into something bigger and beyond, where these girls have the opportunity to become advisors in the nonprofit. You can look at it as like a junior advisory board, but they're helping to build and grow the future of the ambassador program, but being a voice on the back scenes. And our retention rate is 95%. Girls continue through this program because something is changing inside them. They feel like they're building a whole different family network. And not only are they focusing on themselves, but to tie into what Walter mentioned is we married it to this idea of grassroots, which is basically bringing the sport to underserved communities. And they're co-developing and co-facilitating these conversations centered around competence, courage, character, and compassion needed to leave. So we're planting a seed in these younger girls to, change the trajectory of who they become as an adult female. And it's just complete girls empowering girls movement. It's about mentorship. And you saw the light that gets lit with these girls interacting with each other. It's pretty magical.
When you think about going down to serve in this underserved area, there's also sometimes a lack of really understanding some of the needs of a girl entering that stage of life, the privacy needs and some of just the respect and dignity. And you have also taken the opportunity to go as an opportunity to make bigger change for some of that. Can you talk just a little bit about some of the additional things that you've done as you've gone to serve in this area?
Obviously, we can talk about model if you want to. And obviously, our model is change one, change thousands. And when we traveled the first time, we met this young girl that one of my friends that used to play soccer with me said to me, "I'm going to introduce you to a little girl that plays incredible soccer." Like, "Oh, sure. Fantastic." So we went to the school, and this young lady was very shy, and we went to the school to visit and so forth. And she came introduce herself, and she, speak the language of Guarani, and our girl speak English, so she doesn't know how to express herself. So she showed up to us, and she showed us her cleats. Like, "Look, I'm like you guys. Yeah, I play soccer too." So after that, she was following us all over the place, and we went to the soccer field. She was there. So we kind of, continue seeing her and the training and so forth. And the second day, we did the same thing, and she would continue coming. But in the evening, I said to Pam, "We need to go and visit this young girl's house. I don't know. I have a feeling that for some reason we need to go visit. I want to go see where she lives and what are the needs, because I have a feeling that something is not right." Mm-hmm. So we all jump in all the cars that we have. I think it were like 5 cars in that time, because we were just learning how to move ourselves there. And we went to their home. I asked my friend direction, and he kind of guided us to get there. So we got there, and she saw us coming 5 cars in front of her home, and all the American people showing up. And she was like, "Hello," smiling and so happy. But her mom was freaking out, like, "Who are these people and why are they here?" And she showed us the tour of her home. She was extremely happy to give us a tour. And when we went into the home, obviously, it was what I thought it was going to be. It was dirt floors. The home was falling apart. The walls were made by wood, but the woods were separated like this. You can see light through it. If it's windy, you can see the wind come through. If it's raining, it was going to rain. Inside the house, it was covered with dirt, so that way the water doesn't come through. It's a lot of people sleeping in one room. And the bathroom was like 20 yards behind, and a hole in the ground, no roof. And the other part was another closed area where it has a hose on it, so she can shower, but the doors were not able to close. So it was a lot of things that a lot of the people probably live that way in that area. But for her, being a 10-year-old girl and the youngest, and a lot of men's around, it was very eye-opener for a lot of the people that travel. And immediately all the girls and ourselves would look around and say, okay, we need to create a bathroom for this girl. She needs to have a little privacy. Again, she's 10 years old. And when we learn more about it, every time she needed to go to the bathroom, she needed to go with her mom so she can stay outside. Or, people would look through to when she was showering, she was scared. So we decided to raise some money so we can create a bathroom for her. So that was our first project. We made her a bathroom with a toilet and a shower, a curtain, everything locked out, closed out, and she was extremely happy. And yeah, that was our first project, and we never thought it was going to get into that type of project, but like you said, we needed to give the girl what she needs. And the scholarship functioned in that. If a girl doesn't have food, we're trying to provide it, with food kits every 2 weeks or once a month. If a girl doesn't have shelter, we're trying to provide a shelter so she can be in an area, because if you have to study and you don't have proper shelter, you cannot focus and study when you're cold and you're hungry, and create role models as well. That was important for us. So that was our first project. And then we did many more. I'm not Pam, you wanted to.
Yeah, what's interesting about that story, why I think it's always important for us to share that specific story as a part of what we're doing now, is because we saw the immediate need. We got on a plane to create a space for soccer, but our first project was building a bathroom. But what we ended up doing was not sharing it. We didn't tell the public. We didn't say anything about it, because we built another bathroom. Then we built another bathroom, because we were being introduced to these girls that had very similar situations, where you have a black tarp around a hole in the ground with wooden sticks holding it up. And it's not even just the decency and respect that everybody, not even just girls, but everybody deserves to have. But Maria would even tell us, later, if it rained, you don't go to the bathroom. Or, you're also dealing with the weather elements. And so we ended up building 3 bathrooms, and we didn't tell the public. Well, let me reframe that. We told our intimate community, because we had to raise the money for it, but to put it on social media or any of those things, we just didn't do that for 2 reasons. One, we didn't, as we were building this, sports and education movement, we didn't want to be mistaken as an organization that didn't know what they were doing, because we just kind of kept taking this as it came. It was like we kept showing up exactly where we believed we were supposed to be, but we at some times didn't understand really what was evolving. And we didn't want to be mistaken for Habitat for Humanity. We were, can these founders just land the plane and figure out what they're doing? It's too confusing. We didn't want to be in that situation. And we also didn't want to share, because we didn't want to exploit the conditions of these girls. We felt like that was personal, private. So we were kind of stuck in a wedge with these 2 things that we didn't know how to overcome. But what happened, going back to Change One, Change Thousands, Maria, she became our first education scholarship recipient. She became our first project. She did the bathroom. She created the first girls' recreational soccer team with her mom. She became our first in all of these things. And what ended up happening was she became the spark to the flame for these other girls in the community to stand up and now to create the same change within their home. She became the pulse. So we believe that if you can change the life of one girl, you have the power to change the life of thousands, because it's kind of like just the domino effect that starts to take place, right? And Maria, 2021, was it, Walter?
Yeah.
Walter got this call from Maria, because at this point we have, grassroots workshops taking place in this community. We have an ambassador program that's growing, and other girls stepping into this educational scholarship program. Maria takes one of our newer ambassadors home and sees a very similar situation that she had. Because not only have we built a bathroom, but we started building her a better home during this process. She was no longer in the wooded shack that Walter described. And she knew what it felt like to be in that situation. So she called Walter and said, hey, can we build her a home? And we were, sure, why not? I mean, if it's a need, it's a need. And she said, I just know how it feels, and I want her to have the same opportunity that I had. And we went to work. She found a contractor. We raised the money here. We reached out to somebody, and it was our first time we built an actual home for somebody. And what it was just a large room with a bathroom attached. And that was where we put our feet in the ground and realized, okay, there's something bigger unfolding here. If we don't meet the physiological needs of our girls first and take them out of the survival mode that they're in, not knowing when they're going to eat, not being able to focus because of the weather and the safety and all those things that come along with it, they're never going to focus on education, right? If you're in survival mode, all you're focused on is what you're trying to survive from. And so once that house was built, I remember this girl walking into this home and looking up to the ceiling and saying, this is going to change my life. And that's where we said, okay, our mission, the core of what we're supposed to do, yes, is to create this change through sports education and leadership opportunities, but we take it one step further. We meet the girl where she's at, and it's going to look different for everybody, right? We're going to meet her where she's at, and we're going to help take her out. If you think of the hierarchy needs, that's really what we're doing. And so we've built many homes since then, and we're proud of it, and we share it, and we talk about it, because that is where the change begins, is building her a home that she can lay her head down and feel safe and be with her family and be warm and not have to worry about the rain coming in. And another home that we built since then, Diana and Maggie's, and Walter was actually there when the whole, we do also these HGTV type of home makeovers. So they get their beds, they get new mattresses, they get everything they need to feel like it's their home. And you asked Diana one day, because it rained, and you said, how was it? And she said, it was actually nice to hear the rain. And it's just that word "hear." She wasn't in the rain anymore. She got to hear it.
Yeah.
And that was and so it's a big part of our work. It's a big part of our mission. We've since then built a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home for an entire family. And, we don't plan on stopping. So there's many layers.
And the confident level that the kids have after creating as simple as a bathroom, as simple as a home, or all those little things. We got kids that, like Maria, going to college. She wants to be a psychologist to help kids, because so much depression all over the place. So she wants to be a psychologist to help their own kids in the community. Going to college for the first time in her generation. Yeah. And she's going to college, as many other kids. Maggie, Diana's going to go to college, Fiorella, Alice. The kids for the first time going to college and believe that they can make a change in their families. And that's how you break the cycle of poverty, through education and given opportunities. It takes time, it's a lot of work, that's for sure. But it's amazing to see the transformation, right? And we see it over here too at home. We see it over here too. We had kids that came through the grassroots at the younger age. Now they're part of the leadership program. And they come back to and become leaders and help in their own community. And they're on a scholarship. And they have big dreams and aspiration that they believe now that they can accomplish something.
As obviously, Girls Soccer Worldwide has evolved since its inception, continues to evolve. As you think about it currently and as you discuss it currently, what's next and what do you see as the long-term vision?
Well, I know. One thing that we're very, very proud of is the fact that since we started Girls Soccer Worldwide, we made the promise not to be a drop and go. We made a very strong commitment that everything we do has to have intention, whether it's a topic that we dive into in the grassroots program, the ambassador program, everything we do, we have to stop and question ourselves. Like, is this immediate need? Absolutely. Does it have an impact going forward? Like, that's our barometer. So everything we do is about creating sustainability in these communities. And because of that, we go deep to go wide in our community. We could be dropping off thousands and thousands of backpacks, but what we do is we drop off a backpack to 2 schools when we visit every year, so we can dive into the topics around education. right? We use it as a vehicle, the same way that we're using soccer as a vehicle of a love language in these communities. So I always say that when you have a ball at the feet, you speak the same language, right? With these backpack deliveries, which we haven't talked about, we deliver them every year during the ambassador-led trip. And this year we're going to be delivering 220. Some may think that's a very short number, but what we're doing is we're not just handing it out and saying, hey, that's a feel-good movement. You did good in another community. Now let's move on. No, we use it to actually create this connection to meet an immediate need where these kids have, you know, the lack of supplies for their school year. And I think just even they feel seen. You know, when you're growing up in an area of extreme poverty, you can feel like you've been forgotten. You know, you can feel like nobody's paying attention to you. We take it one step further, and it's an open door for us to talk about the value of education in communities where the value of education is somewhat lost, either because parents have not had the opportunity for education. A lot of these parents didn't make it past 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade in some of our communities, right? So the value of it is not being talked about at home. So it's just the norm. If you don't make it past 6th grade, 7th grade, well, that's just what I've been given.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too, there could also be a fear factor. You know, we do see in some situations where our ambassadors are surpassing the confidence level of our parents. And so we're always cognizant of that, of how, you know, making sure that they understand that by rising up this girl, we're building the community together. And I think also there's this, there's that little bit of fear, but then the financial need, right? Yeah. So that's just one example. What we're doing with these backpacks is we're able to meet and engage with kids that do want to continue on to school. So for one example, by delivering these backpacks last year, we now have 4 girls attending 7th grade, becoming the first in their entire family history to do so. You know, our vision, it's in our name. It's worldwide, right? And so our vision is to keep doing what we're doing, to focus on the sustainability piece, to go deep and go wide in these communities. But we are in the process of, you know, looking deeper at the infrastructure of our organization and getting us prepared to scale, you know, whether it's the ambassador program and grassroots, because they go hand in hand, to be able to take this into other communities who have similar needs. And one thing I haven't mentioned, I think is really important, is that we believe every girl deserves to have access to the same opportunities, regardless of where she was born or the socioeconomic status that she was born into. And what we're doing is we're breaking down those barriers so every girl has a seat at the table. And what is amazing that's happening is that we have girls, whether you have access or you don't, that are sitting in the same room and creating change together. And that is more of the building the bridge of communities that we believe started in 2016. But imagine if we were able to take these programs and move them straight into another community, whether it's close to us, you know, hour away, or to a whole nother state. We have people reaching out to us from Texas saying that they want to implement. But what's important for us is that when we do this, that the culture and the values that we have created this organization on don't change. And I think that's what's really important for the process that we're going through, is making sure that when that happens, Girls Soccer Worldwide doesn't get watered down. And the culture of what we've built, we keep it intimate. We keep the conversations intimate and personal, but we take it worldwide. And so that's our BHAG. We want to be a household name on some level, and we're excited.
As we're wrapping up here, how can people learn more about Girls Soccer Worldwide, and how can they get involved?
Well, I think the easiest is to go to our website, www.girlsoccerworldwide.org. There's a lot of information on there that lays out exactly what we're doing. But Walter and I love to chat. We love to, you know, going back to relationships. We're actually starting something in the Bay Area called, well, believe it or not, Coffee Chats, kind of along the same line that you're doing, where we vision people coming together once a month to just ask questions, to sit in the same room with us and to have dialogue, right? Because there is only so much information you can share in a newsletter, share on a social media post, and what have you, which is why we did start our own podcast. And we haven't officially launched it. We're trying to build up our library just to keep the momentum going. And we do expect it to be launched probably within December, and it's called Change One, Change Thousands podcast. So be on the lookout for that. And the other thing, talking about sustainability, you know, the only way we can stay sustainable is if we have the revenue to pour into these communities and keep the work going. So if somebody is interested and wants to be a part of that, we do have a monthly member program. It's called our Champions for Change. If people can step in with $5, right? And $5 goes quite a ways in Pratte. And they can connect with us on Instagram, which is Girls Soccer Worldwide, LinkedIn, or Facebook.
Very good. Well, Pamela and Walter, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us here to share so much amazing information about the work that you're doing. And thank you as well for making a difference in your world. Continued well wishes for you.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you, Steve, because as we've been recording this, I remember us sitting down having coffee together. You were one of our first consultants that came in and, you know, poured and saw what we were doing before we even really knew what we were doing. And so I just want to say thank you for showing up for us back in the day and circling back to celebrate what's come of it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll continue to follow the journey because it's going to continue to grow.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. That was part 2 of the conversation with Walter and Pamela. And, you know, we don't often split our conversations over 2 weeks, over 2 episodes. But as you could see, there's just so much depth and so much breadth even to what Girls Soccer Worldwide is accomplishing, how this has grown in the last 8 years, really, that they've been doing this, both at home as they have built this grassroots program and their ambassadors program, and these girls who are now growing into such strong leadership roles. And the same thing happening in Paraguay now, where they are going beyond, I mean, continuing to utilize soccer, the sport of soccer, as a way to bring attention to the fact that these girls should have the same opportunities as the boys and the men in these cultures, but also to expand beyond that and the things that they're continuing to do to make a difference in lives. And the fact that you can see, as they were talking about this and how they moved forward with the growth and really began to see how they could expand the needs through the education scholarship programs, through providing the backpacks, through building new bathrooms, new homes for some of these girls and their families. And they are really making a sea change in, and starting, yes, with one village. You'd say it's a drop in the bucket, but it comes back to their model, change one, change thousands. How is that ripple effect? How does that happen as some of these girls now are not only continuing their education beyond the 4th or 5th grade, which has been common in their culture, in their place where they live, to now you not only have girls completing their early education, but going on to college first in their, not only in their families, but in their entire region. So it's huge. And I want to reach out again to say thank you to Walter and Pamela, not only for coming to share this, but for what you are doing. And again, you can, even though this was pre-recorded, you can go ahead and put your comments here, your questions to Walter and Pamela. You can also go to their website. We shared that in the chat. And you can go to the website and find out more about them, and also find ways to contact them. If you can't find a direct line to contact them there, you're struggling to find more information on the website, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to Coffee Breaks with Steve at our email, cbwsteve@comcast.net. We'll be glad to make those connections and make sure that that information is there. Hey, as we're wrapping up today, because we have come to the end of our time, I want to share a little bit about what's going to be coming up on Coffee Breaks with Steve. And I got a little preview video of what's coming up. So just take a look at this.
Yeah, you'd have to standardize the scoring systems. Each of the different countries have slightly different techniques and scoring styles and different styles of lances and how they hit. So I just came back from a tournament in Norway where the lances were made in a slightly different way, and those suckers hurt. Well, they hurt a lot more.
She's got a lot of bruises.
But so it's less. It's although there are many different countries that have modern sports jousting, there's enough differences to prevent an Olympic event as it is currently.
And so there's no other industry where you can't stop the flow of intake. Like if you go to an emergency room and they've met their capacity for care, they have to say no, you have to go somewhere else. But in animal welfare, that doesn't happen. And so we are seeing kind of a very extreme situation right now that's all related to all these animals coming in, making lots of babies, not having access to vet care. They can't afford the spay and neuter. And so now we're really just in a panic in California.
Yeah, we got just kind of cool. We've got a couple of great ones. In fact, we have more than that coming up in the next few weeks, including the fact that that we're getting close to our 250th episode. I'll mention that again here in a moment. But what are the topics you'd like to discuss? Who are the guests that you would like to see us have on Coffee Breaks with Steve? As you can see, we like to find diversity in the topics, the guests, and their stories, because I think that's what brings interest, it brings inspiration, it motivates us at times to make a difference in our own world. So let us know who you think should be on the show and the topics you'd like to see us discuss, because so often that comes directly from you. You share with us your ideas, and that is what develops into topics, guests, stories that we love to hear. You know what? As I'm going to mention that we're coming up on the 250th episode in just 3 weeks. We've been on the air now just to share with you Coffee Breaks with Steve and our journey. 5.5 years now. We're in our 6th season. 5.5 years that we've been doing this consistently to share stories with you. 247 episodes as of today. 117 of those episodes have been with guests, and there have been 83 individuals, unique individuals, who have come on as guests on Coffee Breaks with Steve. Obviously, the 83 is not the same as the 117 because we've had some people come back more than once. But it tells us a lot about how this show is making a difference in the reach that's taking place. So with that, I just want to remind you as well that you can be part of helping us get the word out to even more people. We want to continue to have these chats and have the intimacy of the conversations that we have during the live broadcast on Facebook. That's where most people tune in, and that's where we have most of these comments and the conversations around our virtual coffee table take place. But these episodes are recorded both on Facebook and on YouTube. And YouTube specifically is the place where even more people tune in, and they can find through hashtags and playlists and just searching for topics. They're going to find episodes of Coffee Breaks with Steve. And if you are willing to both subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you've already done that, share the link with other people so that we get even more subscribers out there. And we're trying to do even more to make it visible and to put that out there for people to see, because again, it's not about me. It's about the topics. It's about the guests. It's about the stories. I'm just a facilitator. I'm just a vessel, kind of like a coffee cup is a vessel. But you can help us make that difference and get that word out to people. And so I just want to encourage you, invite you, and thank you for making that happen, because it does make a difference for us when we're getting the word out to people. We have seen the subscriptions grow. All right, listen, we have gone a little bit over, and so I do want to be sensitive to our time. I want to reach out one more time to say thank you to Pamela and to Walter for being here, for sharing their story, for sharing the amazing work that they are doing. Everyone involved with girls soccer worldwide. the families that first came around them, many of whom are still involved in making that difference, for the members of their board, and for these young women who are now ambassadors, both in the United States and in Paraguay. And just want to continue to wish them the very best. And I want to remind you that through all of this, we can all be among those people who are the change one, change thousands type. We may say, just that little thing that I do, that's just a drop in the bucket. What difference is it going to make? We have an election coming up in the United States. What difference does one vote make? What difference does my reaching out to help one neighbor, or making even a small donation to an organization that I feel passionate about? What kind of difference does that make? Well, I'll tell you, sometimes we do get to see that changing one can change thousands. So please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Coffee Breaks with Steve.